Welcome to The Downside. My name is Gianmarco Soresi. I'm here with my co-host Russell Daniels. Russell, how you doing?
Oh, good. How are you?
Good. This is coming out December 10th. Russell, is this, you got this from our last guest? You're going to check your phone throughout the whole show? Shout out. If you were listening, that's why you got to watch. We are here with Che Durena, who I thought was a LA person, but is a New York person.
Really? New York guy, yeah.
But still happy to have you.
Thank you.
Oh, Che, you travel. You're on the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something people don't always know, and tell me if you know this. I've had 2 weekends in a row now where I go to my what's your go-to porn site just right out the gate?
Oh, I'm an Xvideos guy.
You're an Xvideos. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm about to become an Xvideos guy because there are a lot of states that block Pornhub.
Really?
So you go to Pornhub.com and there's Sherry DeVille, and I go, great. I was going to look you up anyway.
Yeah.
Sherry DeVille, there you are.
Wait, what states?
At least I know for certain North Carolina.
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
And I was just in Indiana, I guess.
Oh, Indiana.
I mean, yeah. So
Really?
But what's weird is there's three. There's like some Pornhub has Sherry DeVille, and she talks about how there's some law where you have to give them your driver's license, I believe, like a picture of your driver's license to go on porn.
Yeah.
And
insane.
And then other sites that have nothing. And I think they're probably breaking the law.
No, I don't think so. I think it's state by state decision. It's not a federal thing.
No, but I'm saying like the fact that Xvideos doesn't verify your age in that way, I think they're just
you're punishing the one that's doing the more like the bigger
Pornhub's
one.
argument is basically like there are better, and listen, Pornhub's argument is there are better ways to verify age than this.
Yeah.
And their argument, which I don't know if it's true or not, is like this is actually worse. Basically, they're saying if you ask people for their license and they're correct about this, they're not going to use it.
Yeah.
And they're instead going to go to other sites with an even lower bar of
security. Yeah.
And I imagine Pornhub can't even do that because they're so big, they'd get fined immediately.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I'm not putting my license.
I'm not
in.
signing in.
I will sooner use my imagination and or Instagram before I put in my driver's license.
Yeah, dude. Reddit, Twitter, like there's so many places to get porn, dude. Yeah. I like Twitter or Reddit a lot. Reddit is great.
I'll go to
for
Reddit
porn.
once in a while.
You've never gone to Reddit porn?
There's one link you sent me, Russell, but there was a.
There's like you gotta see this.
Usually Reddit links to other sites. No, there's direct uploads.
There's like communities.
Yeah.
Do I like big boobs? I'll go to the big boob community.
There's a
Is
boob.
that the R? Do I like big boobs?
No, I mean there's tons of
there's
big boob communities.
I think there's big boobs, there's bolt-ons, there's tiny boobs, there's like a whole
Sorry, bolt-ons?
Bolt-ons like big fake tits. Like you've never heard the expression bolt-ons?
no.
She's got
I've never
bolt-ons. Yeah.
Never heard that.
Yeah, that's a real I think that's because I'm Canadian. I think it's like a hockey kind of thing. That's hockey talk. Yeah.
What in hockey? What's a bolt-on?
Well, that just sounds like something Hockey Bros came up with.
Oh,
bolt-on.
okay.
Yeah.
A bolt-on.
Yeah.
Damn, I mean, I'm gonna start. So you would say, "Oh my, you see that girl? She's got some
bolt-ons. Yeah.
She got some bolt-ons."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently, I don't think I told you this yet. I was on Reddit looking at porn.
Nice.
And I all of a sudden saw someone on there that I recognized as an influencer that I follow, non-porn related.
Wow.
And I was like, could they do like, I can't say much more than that because it would really could say who they are.
You don't think they wanted advertised?
No, they don't have their name on the Reddit account or anything like that.
Really?
But they have their face.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know.
It was them posting it.
But it was like I've been following them for years because of specifically the content that they share, and it was not porn related. It was
Can you say what kind of content?
Wait, was it our revenge porn? Is that what you were looking at?
No. It's I can't really say without giving it away.
Yeah.
But you think that
I'll tell
they
you
posted
after.
their face, but they don't want people to
I don't know. And I don't know. So I don't want to
Sure.
be the one that but it was wild to me because it's like a couple. Well, it's the woman's doing it, but I've known both of her and her husband as like these influencers that I've followed because they give educational things that I like on a certain topic, and but then like randomly popping up, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This hot influencer, it seems relatively new. Like I was missing it for years.
Was the porn her and her husband?
Not at first, and then just this week it turned, and it is now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But I can totally see it. You're making content with your partner, and people comment like, "You guys are so beautiful together," and someone messages like I did. Once in a while I send a feet pic.
Yeah.
And I can see how it goes down.
Yeah. So you're making good money off the toes, the piggies?
Just it happened twice now where someone said like, "I'll give you some money. How much money do you want for feet pics?" And I basically. I'm a loser, so I go to my girlfriend. I'm like, "Hey, you're cool with this?"
Yeah.
And she basically, I'm like, if it can cover 2 pedicures, me and her,
yeah,
I'll send the feet pics. It's no sweat off my back.
Yeah.
But they want more.
I don't think you're a loser for checking in with your girlfriend to see if because I think if that came up inorganically, where she was like, well, "You've been making money off of feet pics," and you'd be like, "Yeah," like that would be something I could see a woman would have a problem with.
Our friend Jessica Fry was at a subway stop once, and it was the summertime. She was wearing sandals, and this man came up to her with a camera, and he goes, "Excuse me," and she goes, "Yes," and she thought he was gonna ask for directions, and he goes, "Can I take a photo of your feet?" And she goes, "Just do it quick."
This is the downside.
Yeah, dude.
You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.
Welcome to The Downside. We'll bump that up in post.
No. I like it. Let's keep it real.
You like
low.
it real
so
nice
everyone
and
at
low?
home's like, "Wait, what?"
If you're a fan of the show, join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. 2 bonus episodes every month that we record closer to release. We're working on getting the regular ones, the week of, but it's going to be a bit. So just join the Patreon if you want to hear the stuff in the moment of whatever politically happening at the moment. But we were recording this early. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
You.
Yeah.
Oh God. One thing I sorry to bring it back to feed pics. Sometimes I want to I feel a perfect moment for the song, for the theme song, and then I go, but I want to keep talking about these feed pics. I think what I'm so interested with feed pics is the person's always usually attractive as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like because the feet are so far away from the face, I would imagine the face is less important to the beauty of the feet. It's still not nothing.
Yeah.
But I rarely see a foot model where I go, "Oh, they're a real." You know how there's a butter face?
Yeah.
Butter above the ankles.
Yeah.
Oh, she's got great feet. Butter above the knees.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't those you wouldn't see. And I do think there's a thing with feet guys. I think they're categorized. I think there's some dudes who could just jerk off to a foot. You show them a foot and they're. But there's some guys who need the whole. It's like the foot included in the.
You need to see the woman's face, in the.
Yeah, the fact that she's hot and has nice feet is the whole thing for them.
But I wonder, with a feet pic, if it was just here, just that rectangle, do they like a little ankle? It's very.
I don't know.
They must,
probably
because
everyone
has
looks a little bit.
I like butt, but if you literally gave it was just the butt in a circle, I'd go.
You guys see the waist?
Well, the lower back is the waist and the.
Yeah. Well, I have asked when I do encounter, because sometimes I'm doing crowd work, you ask a foot guy, I'll be like, "So do you like when the middle toe is longer than the big toe?" And a guy was like, "Velociraptor." I was like, "Oh, so you have a name for it?" And he goes, "No, I don't like that." But I think some dudes do. They like specific types of nail polish.
I think if you like it, you wouldn't compare it to a dinosaur.
No, non-sexual creature.
People, you find people will say that they're feet people.
Yeah.
Out loud.
I think the feet
No,
people.
I'm not saying that that's bad.
They're the most confident they've ever been right now.
Oh,
Okay,
really?
I made this prediction, all right? So we're kind of going out of an ass era into a tit era. That's just, it's it happens.
God, this country is going to shit in every which way possible.
No way from shit.
But you can... There we go.
Just kidding.
There we go.
Just
There we
good.
go. There's that stand-up comedian coming out.
Yeah.
But we're going, you can feel the shift. You can feel it. And I'm predicting that just like when we kind of went from rock and roll to rap, there was this small moment where EDM was popular.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have a small, the foot guys are on top. A small moment where the majority of the public are still that's weird, but you're going to have a lady on the cover of Maxim magazine who's the centerfold is kind of focusing on her feet. I swear to God.
Really?
That's my prediction.
And that's just, it's always hard to you know how back in the day ankles or calves were like sexy and the clothes would accentuate the calves.
Yes.
It just feels, it's true that what we're sexually drawn to is influenced by culture or whatever, but it feels so in your DNA.
Yeah.
Like I don't go like, well, I know asses are in, so I'm into asses. I'm just like, I'm an ass guy.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, if I get dementia, the last thing in my head is an ass.
Well, I think part of why our generation is so ass focused is because we grew up in an ass culture. We grew up with like rap music and all this stuff. Jennifer Lopez like pushing the ass wave.
The thong song was a huge. That's the closest I got to porn at like a young age where I was like, I mean, it honestly, it feels like it would be risque to put on now. It's just so many asses.
And if you grew up in like the 80s, it was more of a tit focused time. You have Playboy and all these kind of things being like the centerfold.
Interesting.
It's the time for the culture to take like centerfold needs the young generation growing up in that to like grow and then take over the people making the culture.
And when you think of young people, that their clothes are baggier.
Yeah.
So there's less of like in our era, it was like tight jeans. That you could see the ass.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like skinny jeans. Yeah.
Skinny jeans.
Lululemon hit the scene. Tights hit the scene.
Yoga pants.
Yoga
Oh
pants.
my
Come
Yes.
on.
Can I just say,
There's a Reddit community for yoga pants, my
Can
friend.
I just say to my listeners, sometimes this is the gayest podcast in the entire world, and then every once in a while it becomes stiff socks light. It is a wild. So for those of you at home, remember, guys have great asses too. So we could also be talking about guys.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, if I was with a guy, he's definitely got a big
old dump truck, as they call it.
Like that guy from Law and Order SVU. What's his name?
Oh, the bald guy.
The bald guy.
He's jacked as hell.
Yo, he's got,
Chris Maloney.
as someone who's worked really hard to try to get a semblance of an ass.
Yeah.
And I think I'm starting to see a line or two.
Okay.
Yeah. Take a look when I'm headed out. It is early roast battle. Someone said something like, I don't know if you even said, they just said, where's his ass? And I went home and I was like, this is a problem. He found something.
You have a very like Ichabod Crane long body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just like the folk guy calling it a pterodactyl. That's a brutal Velociraptor.
But you're tall. You're very tall. You're a good runner. You were at
that's very
Two Bears
kind.
5K.
You're right. In the marathon run exclusively by Bert Kreischer and other comedians, I stood out for my running abilities.
He killed it. He smoked past me.
Did I beat you?
Oh yeah, you crushed me. Yeah. I'm not a good cardio. That's not my realm. That's not.
Yeah.
I can't. I do it begrudgingly every time I do it. I'm like, I hate this.
I really think seeing Bert to be cruel, Bert's fan base.
Yeah,
this was really good for them to do.
Yes, yeah, they need.
This was really good. Like that, I was like, oh, comedy can't.
Careful, you're speaking about people.
What would the downside? Well, if we were to do instead of a marathon, what would be like the hey, let's all wake up Saturday morning.
24 hours of therapy.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, Che, I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you.
You have a podcast that's about going down internet rabbit holes.
Yes, Dark Holes is the name of it.
It's a great title.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great title.
Yeah.
I once had a punchline that used like a turn of phrase for black holes, and it really was it was too much for every audience I ever did it
Really?
for. It was early comedy where I was like, this is I said a really dark thing.
Yeah.
And people were like, that is too, and the word, I do not like the word holes.
Oh no.
That for me, you know how some people don't like moist?
Yeah.
For me, holes, a squishy hole.
Squishy hole.
Who's saying that?
I'm sure if we went to Pornhub and put SQ, I bet you the eighth down squishy holes.
Okay.
It's gonna be dominated by Squirt though. You put SQ into Pornhub, Squirt's your first.
Squirt. I also not a fan of
What?
No.
Not a fan of what?
Squirt. squirting.
Like
That's legit.
Because like it's like those Semen X commercials we've talked about before.
Semen
where,
X.
like,
Wait, what's Semen X?
It's like
you've never seen
pill
the
you
Semen X
take
commercial?
to increase the amount of semen that you have.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess maybe when you're
it has that music.
No,
and it like you just see the cum like filling up a
you know how they do like AB with like towels, like this towel wipes up this.
Yeah.
It's like 2 cups, and when the cum goes, frankly, plenty.
You're
more
like,
than enough.
yeah. You're like, if I had that much cum coming out, like we'd have problems. Like there would be like flooding. It would be such a mess. You'd be restarting your life every time you came.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I gotta do every sheet in my house now.
It's like that old TV show with the Hulk, where every time he hulks out, he has to leave to a new town because he destroyed.
I would be ruining my life every time I came if I came that much.
You're walking down the highway, hitchhiking every time you come. I gotta move. I have to ruin another place.
Ruined another apartment.
Oh my
it's
God.
crazy.
Holy
it's too
shit.
much cum. Anyways, but and also that must be a fetish that I guess men want, is to have all that cum.
I imagine.
I think it's an exaggeration.
There's a great line from Rich Voss.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a fan of his political views.
Oh, I don't know.
But he has a joke about like, I think the joke is his wife. I believe this joke. His wife said, "Come on my face," or someone said, "Come on my face," and he was like, "I'm 60 or whatever. I'd have to wipe it off on your face like a painting." And I was like, I imagine. There's been a decrease.
I always think though, if like,
how old are you?
32.
32. I remember 32. My God, I
but
can still hit the ceiling.
I feel like
I remember when I was a boy. One time in my life, it was like lying down, and I was like, "Oh, it got in my eye,
dude."
And I was like, "Let me tell you." That's never happening again unless I'm doing a full-on yoga.
Yeah, there's definitely a change in that. But like, I also feel like if it's a mount you're talking about, like just give it a couple days.
Yeah,
and then it's too much.
You do have to if you take
just
time
give
off,
it a 2 or 3 days and you'll be fine.
You got to build.
We'll never know. You know, like how many licks to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Are you a quick guy?
Quick?
Yeah.
No. You mean like a problem?
Yeah. Like you're
no, but that's how it's. Wait, you're talking about?
Oh shit!
Finish it. Don't try to play it off. You mean like coming too quickly?
Yes.
No, but when I started, that was like a huge issue when I was 18. And I was with someone who I wasn't there first.
Yeah.
And they clearly were getting frustrated. And I could feel it. And I had this like. Honestly, I think it was a very formative experience. Suddenly I couldn't get it up. I couldn't get it up at all.
Yeah.
And I was nervous because I used to do the thing where I would just press on the floor. Like that's like I would make myself finish just by pressing on the floor.
Wait,
and
no, you need to elaborate on that. This is
when you were like first. Like,
what do you mean
discovering?
press on the floor?
Like that you could just like you'd hump the floor essentially, but I would be able to basically come without getting like fully erect. Oh. And it was just something that I think I started when I was like so young that it's, my body's just being able to come.
So
period.
this is you masturbating.
That was me masturbating.
Okay.
And it was convenient. Mm-hmm. I could be watching TV and just do it. I could anytime I was horny, if I was reading a book, I could just go, okay.
I love thinking like you as a kid being like totally getting away with this.
Yeah.
And everyone in your life was like, God, he's humping the floor again.
I think about
there
it all
he is,
the time.
Look at him watching TV. Just
I want to ask my friend.
Just like humping the floor.
I want to ask my friend Kevin, who was my good friend in middle school. Like I remember we're watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And I'm in the basement.
Highly erotic movie.
And I'm just like, I'll get on the floor. And like, I just imagine, I'm like humping the floor fully.
Jesus Christ.
And they're like, Jesus. And then, this is so graphic that you try to make it so that you don't want to come outside the underwear because then it's fully visible. You want to like have 2 layers of cloth.
Oh my God, man.
And so basically this, my girlfriend who my first person I had sex with, it felt like, she's about to break up with me because I cannot have sex. And one night I I was so turned on. I was like, I wanted to have sex, and I couldn't get it up, and I started weeping. I started like weeping, and she didn't know what to do. I was having like just a deep crisis.
Yes,
because in my mind, this is where you're young and no one's talking to you about sex. I thought, oh my God, I can't get it up. she's going to break up with me. And not only that, I will never have a woman love me because I can't satisfy this thing. And it's just my body.
Yeah.
And I remember I went to bed crying. I woke up. I was still like, I woke up sobbing.
Damn.
And it was so bad. I went to, it was so, I didn't want to go to, but I went to my dad.
Yeah.
I went to my mom. I told you this story. First, I went to my stepdad, and he did this. He didn't know how to talk about it. He was a Catholic Ohio guy.
Yeah.
He showed me a car magazine where there was he said, you know, some people need pornography, as if this was porn, a car magazine. That's for Ohio. That's porn for him.
Yeah.
Believe me, he can get behind whatever Pornhub law they made.
Yeah.
Some people need pornography, you know, but I I have your mother. And I was like, oh my God, what? And then I went to my mom because that's how, I mean, I was going down the ladder.
His rationale, because you're talking specifically because you had a girlfriend. In his rationale, you putting that magazine on her face? Like, while you're like, because you're like, the problem is not you alone. The problem
he
is
didn't understand he didn't know how to respond. He just was like, sex, that was the closest to the birds and the bees.
Yeah.
He could barely talk about sex. I came to him and I said, I can't get it up.
Yeah.
He didn't believe in psychology.
And you were at like 18 at the time or something?
18, exactly.
Yeah.
And so then I was so desperate. I went down to first dad, then my stepdad, and then finally I went to my mom. I was like, Mom, this is a nightmare. I was desperate.
Yeah.
And we went to a urologist. My mom brought me to a urologist.
Yeah.
And I'm explaining to this urologist the floor humping thing I just explained to you now.
Yeah.
And I'm saying like I do it once a day. Is it broken? This was before I was using the internet kind of in that way yet, like really looking things up. And my urologist got out a piece of paper. He said, I know exactly what you need. He wrote it down, slid it over to me, and it said, a new girlfriend. And I think I probably mentioned in that speech where my girlfriend at the time, she'd never given me oral sex.
Yeah.
And that was, she just didn't want to. Maybe she did it with her last boyfriend.
Yeah.
But I probably mentioned that to the doctor only as a means of like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And in his mind, he was like, she's a real prude.
Yeah, of course you can't get off. This chick won't suck your cock.
And I was so, and like eventually I basically like, she broke up with me. It was probably related to this.
How much do you think you got paid for that advice?
I think about it all the time. I think about it all the time.
That urologist just giving out
But also,
teen boys advice.
You know, what he should have said is the sheet should have said a therapist.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have done a big sheet thing to begin with.
Dude,
what are you?
bit?
Like, stop humping
the bit,
floor.
the no girlfriend bit from the doctor. Doctor, you don't do bit. That's it needs to be our number one thing is doctors
New
don't
girlfriend.
do bits. I don't care. You're not funny. I don't care if you are funny, you're not. I'm coming to you. I have a problem. Whatever the problem is, I'm coming to you for solutions. None of them are need to laugh. Laughter is not actually medicine.
I 100% agree.
What is that?
I
Crazy.
don't like a doctor with a sense of humor.
No. Don't be goofy.
No.
None of this is goof for me.
No.
It's all tension. You're not breaking it, okay?
Yeah.
So I think, and eventually like she broke up, and then I like hooked up with someone else, and hard as a rock.
Oh wow.
And I was like, but there was many times after that where I didn't have a girlfriend for a long time after that, but every time I would be able to do it, I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
I think we're okay.
We should get that first girlfriend
Yeah.
on the pod. Interview her.
Nope. Okay. Well, okay, sorry. I know I'm making this last thing I'll say is that when I first did stand up, I went to college for musical theater.
Oh yes. This poor soul.
Yeah, it was high school relationships, emotions, and I have nothing in my Amos. What is it? Amos? Armus?
Animosity.
Animosity in my heart. Jesus Christ. But when I first did stand up, I did a class here in New York. Did 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I went back to school and I just did an hour. It was one of the things I just started writing, and it was dirty as it was every time I had sex. It was this time the girl peed on me and I thought she was squirting. It was the time I came too fast. I humped the floor. I was doing stand up at the time where I would do the hump the floor. I had a hump the floor bit. Which I still do sometimes. I still think it's strong.
Nice.
But I put it online. She found it. And she I talked about another ex in high school, and she told that ex, go see this bit he's doing. I didn't name any names.
Yeah.
But the other one was a girlfriend. She was the first person I ever went down on. And again, I'm just doing the dirtiest stand-up possible.
Yeah.
And it was like I went down on a woman. The bit was finding a clit is like trying to find a pimple in a truck driver's armpit. This is early. This is why you never want to see someone at the very beginning. It is rough.
Yeah.
But I took that video down before she saw it. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
And like she was a foreign exchange student, but I changed the country and I didn't use her name, but it was obviously her.
Yeah, if she knew it was her, like a stranger wouldn't know, but she knew.
Yeah.
She would be able to identify herself.
And then her brother was like, if I ever see him, I'm gonna hit him. And
you have that to look forward to.
and I just it was a good lesson. Listen, I look at a lot of things in college where I'm like it was painful lessons that I learned, but they were good. Yeah. Better learn them then.
I had a very similar thing where I was having sex in high school. It was totally fine. And then one time I went to go hook up with my girlfriend. I smoked weed first. And then one of my buddies went, "Oh, be careful. Sometimes when you smoke weed, you can't get it up." And then it was like
in your head.
In my head. That was in my head. And then I was probably maybe like 18, maybe 17, somewhere in that range.
Really?
For about 4 years, it was just a constant thing that was like bugging in my head. And sometimes my dick would work, sometimes it wouldn't. Often I would just drink until I like wasn't afraid anymore and I didn't have this like huge anxiety. And then I was able to perform. But that was in my head for a while, and it took me a long time to get over it and to like, and then there was this big attachment that I learned over time of like identifying like my own masculinity and being insecure with myself with getting laid. So like I had to like qualify my masculinity through sleeping with strangers, and so that if I couldn't do that, then I was feeling like inadequate and pathetic.
That first time that you couldn't get up, like, was it humiliating? Like, was it or like
it was? I think
did they make you feel bad?
They didn't make me feel bad at all. No, but I felt. I think it's multiple things. It's like the house I grew up in was both my parents were like emotionally unstable. And then my dad quantified a lot of his masculinity through like sex stories and like his machismo through that. So it's like I felt that that's how you accomplish that.
How did he like tell you these sex stories? Like what?
He had a story about when he would when he was in college, he had a garbage bag full of women's panties. He had stories about
garbage bag.
A garbage bag.
Oh my God.
He would tell this.
Even if he had like a Chinese takeout plastic bag, I'd be like, that's impressive. That's quite a college.
He had all these like
That's a drawer and a desk. No, a garbage bag.
Garbage bag full of women's panties. He told stories about like when he was in Europe and partying with these dudes, then they would use him as like leverage to hook up with women because he was such a suave dude. And like, he had story after
was
story.
Was he telling you this like even when you were prepubescent or like right when you started dating? He was like, hey.
I definitely think these stories were coming in like when I was probably like 10 or before. These were like casual dinner table, like,
did your mom go, your father?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. But he would say wild shit. Like I remember him saying women are like branches on a tree. You got to trim all the branches so the tree looks nice. Like you got to take care of all your chicks and like keep it maintained. Yeah, he said he told me call all your women baby so you don't forget their names. Like
did any issues with your parents? Like
there was issues.
Was he cheating?
Stuff I won't get.
Yeah, sure. Seems like some red flags.
But yeah, dude, there was so much from that gave me all like.
What is that?
Oh, okay.
Did we get it? We got a radio signal. I wonder if they heard it on. You think it's picked up?
Yeah, it'll go away in a second.
But will they pick it up on the recording?
We can cut it out.
No, it's fine.
That's great.
Yeah, that's crazy. What was that?
That's never happened in my whole life.
But what was it? What was the person
I don't
saying?
know.
We're gonna have to listen back to that. Was it Spanish?
It was Spanish.
Oh my God! Wow,
that's great.
So your dad he tells you all these stories of him being like, and when you heard it, did you go like, that's my legacy, I got to be that too?
There definitely was like a dog passing down dog, like the line of men are all dogs. His dad was a dog, he's a dog, my brother's a dog, I'm a dog. Like it was you take on the legacy of dog, and that's part of like kind of being a dude.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I mentally had this pressure of
That here, he was hiding from me. That day, he wait till I get in the city and want to start talking.
This is
What do we
never,
do? This is so crazy.
This is cool. I love it.
It's scary to me.
I think-
it's freaking me out.
Well, it's definitely English.
Yeah.
He's talking to a plumber.
Sneak attack.
Sneak it.
It's also like, it's not like, welcome back to the news station. It's
I
like
know.
a guy kind of talking.
He's like having some sort of like convo with another guy, being like, "Yo, fuck this dude." We're like, "Yo, this guy's trying to sneak attack me. Fuck him." I'm something about a plumber.
Yeah.
Who's on radio too? Like
Who
on
is
like
on
a little
radio?
box radio talking to someone and is like sending messages.
What if,
This is how drug dealers are operating now?
Is that how people are listening to this podcast?
you remember that story, War of the Worlds, I think it was called?
Yeah.
There was like a radio show about aliens taking
Yeah.
over that was so good
That
that
everyone-
people believed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people went
That must have
crazy.
been.
That was fire, dude. Imagine doing that, like having a piece of content so magnificent it sends people into terror.
I've been I started this book called it's like the creation of reality TV, and it starts with radio.
Yeah.
Like they did Blind Date, like the Blind Date show, they did it on radio.
Oh, really?
And I mean, in Candid Camera used to be a radio show.
Really?
And my favorite Candid Camera story is whoever created it. I think it's real. Where he was on a plane that got hijacked, and not like, not to be flown into a building, but like brought to another country.
Yeah.
And everyone on the plane, they recognized him. He was famous.
Yeah.
They all thought they were on Candid
I've
Camera.
heard this, yes,
And then they wouldn't believe him, and he was like, no, we're actually being hijacked, and people were like, okay. Smiling.
Yeah.
And then when they landed in whatever country they landed in, and were like, brought off the plane at gunpoint, they were mad at him.
Yeah,
They were like, they were pissed off at him. And it's such a like beautiful, like getting your comeuppance for tricking people for a living.
Yeah. And it's also like he didn't like what I didn't do any like I'm really trying to, but it's like what's that fucking that old saying, cry wolf? Like you cry wolf too many times.
Yeah.
And they're like, no one's gonna believe you.
When you started dating, would you tell your dad like, hey Pops, I'm hooking up with so and so, or hey Pops, look at her?
No, I never. Me and my dad didn't get closer until I was probably in like my early 20s. I was very shut off from my parents. Like there was I mean, my parents they're good people at their core. They're just unstable.
I have an unstable father. I understand.
Yeah, but both my parents, but me and my mom don't even talk anymore.
Oh, wow.
And so
are they still together?
No, they're not together. But they just had a lot of issues, a lot of anxiety, and they at this point, because they had I have a brother and sister that are like 10 years older than me from the previous marriages.
Right.
So I was alone in the house for a long time. And at this point, their marriage was like crumbling too. So there was just like anxiety and tension and all the shit in the house constantly. So I was like hiding from them and keeping a lot of my stuff private. Yeah. Also, if you ever were like, it took me a long time to get like over my trust issues and shit. Because if you ever vulnerable with them, it wasn't just with them. It was like in the household, that shit was going to get turned against you probably at some point.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Some way to like embarrass you or to win an argument against you or something.
And just like, even at a young age, like they would just be like, oh, remember that thing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, and you remember it. Like, I remember watching like whatever, some sitcom, and it's like a family, and they all like the way they interact and the way they talk to each other and how open they are. And I always thought it was like, this is crazy. I was like, you trust these people? You trust these people in your own house? Not a chance, dude.
I think one of like a turning point in my father and my relationship was I dated someone in college a long time, and they left. They got married, and I was like devastated. It was like just a really low point.
Yeah.
And it was known with my family. And then one day my dad and I got in a fight, and he was like saying that I was selfish.
Yeah.
And he said, let's just say her name is Laura. And he said, this is why Laura left.
And you're like,
and I saw red, and I was like, for me, it was like the using of that was like so
it's so low.
Yeah. And I left a voicemail. I think I said this once where I said something like really awful about his mom who had passed away the year before, where I just said like just something your dead mother would be ashamed of you, essentially. I mean, because I was like, you did it.
Yeah.
You did it, man.
Yeah.
You did it. I always feel in my head, I have like, I can't help but I have that thought of like, this is the thing I would say that would destroy this person.
Yeah.
You have that. You have a dark.
Yeah, but if you use that ever, it's like you have to like know that that's going to be the end of something. Do you know what I mean? Like
change it.
It's
And
gonna
also it's
change it, but usually like it's not going to be.
What's yours for
better.
me?
No, I don't have one like with people I really love. I don't feel like I have like a thing like that where I would be like, I don't know. I definitely have things like with people that where you hold something like not friends, but like people that you're like, God, if I could tell this person one thing. You have those, but I rarely ever have used one.
No,
like
I think if I ever have like an irk about someone that I'm like, I just try to I'm like, you're removed.
I agree. I think if it's like, if I'm holding something like that about someone, I'll have to find a way to be like, I gotta like distance myself from that person. So, because it's a horrible feeling to have.
I'm very walled garden. It takes a long time for people to get in and like for me to be like, oh, we're hanging out. Like I remember one time I went out drinking with some comics and we had a great night. And then the next night, one of the guys was like friendlier towards me. And I was I didn't acknowledge that friendliness. But that moment clicked for me was like, oh yeah, we had a moment together. We should now be closer. But before I'd be like, no, like this is a very exclusive club, the close to me club, and you're sorry, man, you're not. You maybe got to do that like 4 or 5 more times before you get.
I feel that too, and the loneliness. I also feel the loneliness as that's a consequence of that. I'm more like a walled barren field, but I like that phrase, walled garden.
Walled garden, yeah,
I like that. So even though you have this kind of, you're not close to your father. You at least at this age,
time,
like you still felt. Do you think you were conscious of it at the time that you were like trying to be that dog, as you said?
No, I definitely wasn't conscious of it. I was just full of, because of the way mostly like my mom would talk to me, which was like both me and my sister have worked through like a lot of shit, but it was like every day you're called stupid, you're called an idiot, like for little shit. Like we were cut down a lot. So riddled with insecurities. And then also, so if when you're like very insecure about who you are, and then you're trying to like assemble some sense of security, you're like, well, I have to accomplish these things like sleeping with chicks. And so you're attaching so much of yourself that's crumbling. The only thing holding it together is like fucking strangers or something or whatever those things were.
Sure.
And so having to work through those things, learn that those aren't mine, let all that stuff go. It took lots of time of realizing that I even felt like that, and then working through that shit on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did your parents do you know anything about their dating life before they met?
Yeah, well, they met. I mean, my mom was engaged before my dad.
Really?
Yeah, but like in high school, like was engaged in high school.
And who called it off?
She did.
She did.
Yeah.
Did she say like, was it traumatic?
No, I think basically she did say her parents did the smart thing of like, they obviously didn't want her to get engaged.
They didn't even back
high
then.
School. No, not back then. But instead of like telling her she couldn't in high school get engaged, they just let her. And then it's like she got engaged in her senior year, I think, and then went to college and then was like, well, I'm not going to get married. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And was like, called it off. But then the guy was like still around, like it's a small town. So like I ended up knowing who he was. He was a doctor. He died recently.
Oh my God.
So
they were friendly?
Not friendly, but like it was like that thing of like I knew who he was in this.
Can you imagine?
Like,
can you imagine this? So you're at your doctor's appointment, and he's like getting ready for the syringe or whatever, and he's like, "So your mom and I used to be engaged. She broke it off. Time for the needle."
No, but I don't know much about my dad. But then they met early. I mean, they met when they were 22 and like in working in the same school. So
are they still together?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but, I mean, they were married for 9 years before they had their first kid too. Which is like kind of crazy if you think back like then to be we're gonna get married really young and then wait 9 years to have a kid.
Yeah,
but,
good for them though.
Yeah,
good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about like I'm certainly at the age where you start going like, kids, let's start thinking about this. That's what I'll commit to.
Yeah.
And then I just think about how like I'm thinking about. We saw a play last night that was very much about like. Extrapolation of climate change and what the world will look like and all these things. And I think about like, oh man, I'm like tumbling and like, is it worth bringing existence into this world? And I think about how for so many people, they just go, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
See, I don't think about
Let's
I don't
come.
think about that at all. I think of like being on the subway and I see like a family get on and they're like the parents are like desperate to get their kids seats so they can sit down and shut them up.
Yeah.
And I'm just like in that like 10-minute window like, God, this fucking sucks.
Yeah,
I
dude.
hate it. I really just know that about myself that I fucking hate it. I don't want to be around that energy. It brings out the worst.
But by
in
the
me.
way, Russell has babysat more than me.
Yeah.
You've been a tutor for a kid. Like Russell also spends a lot of time with kids.
But I just know that that's something that I'm like, I don't want that to occupy my life. It's your everything. You have to do. You cannot do. If you're gonna do it right, it has to be your only thing for like 18 years.
Yeah.
I think
that is just not what I'm willing to ever do.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest deterrent for me is I look at my friends who seem to have kids well, and their families are close or they're involved. They live as close to. I think you should raise kids in a village, in a community, and I'm like, you know, I could go to LA and I'd have 2 sisters and my mom and who knows, I'm sure my mom would be like, yeah, I'll be a part of this thing.
Yeah.
But it's small. It's limited.
Yeah.
I realize that with marriage too. I think in talking it out with my girlfriend about that for marriage, I go to more weddings and I go, oh, part of the reason I don't want to get married is because my family, it's a family affair.
Yeah.
Marriage is not just about you two. It really is about like, it's the whole family and you're adding to it. And I'm like, I don't even know if I could have my mom and dad at the event together.
Yeah.
Of course I don't want to get married. That sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. I've never really thought about marriage, the kids thing. Like I've had a vasectomy. So,
really?
Yeah, I had a vasectomy, and like my stance on it's like if I choose to reverse it, I can reverse it. Every time I say this, is going to be podcast comments where they're like, you know, it's not 100%. I was well aware going in that it wasn't 100% reversal.
What is it's not 100% reversal.
Yeah.
But could you still, even if they couldn't, I know very little about the balls. It's crazy. They played a huge role in my life.
Yeah.
Even if you can't reverse it, could they still extract cum?
Maybe. I don't know. We could get to that if we needed to be. I guess I could.
The cum would still be there, but that's the semen inside.
Then how does it come out?
No, you still you need the sperm. The sperm is what you need. The semen goes. The semen goes.
Semen will come out, but there's got to be the sperm inside the semen.
Yeah.
Oh, sperm and semen are not the same thing? No. Didn't know that.
Wait. Gianmarco.
Did you know that? Okay, good. We're 50-50 before you give me
but
shit.
they're swimming in the goo. It's like can you imagine if every time you came like millions of just like little things came out, like little fish came out? You know what I mean? They're in the goo.
The goo gives them, it's like the lubricant so they can make it to the pussy.
That's like saying, how can water be made of atoms? Wouldn't it just be a bunch of little balls that come out of the sink? No, I assume that they congealed to make...
But you see that... All right. I see what you're saying.
I like the idea of the individual balls.
Like the individual sperms, just like, it'd be so scary.
And it's sprayed out.
Tiny little things running
you
over.
could see them moving.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if you could see them moving.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. And the first
They're
time you
so
came
small.
alone,
They're
you'd be
so
like, you'd
small.
scream.
Yeah. No, if we could see them moving, there would be like abortion laws for jerking off. Yeah. There would be, people would not be okay with you just jerking it. No.
I honestly, there's sometimes I think like that's the only way to combat. Like, it's hack at this point, but like the idea, like if men could get pregnant, you'd be able to get abortions at the CVS.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, I think that is true to a degree.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you go further pro-life, go further and go with the sperm. And like, let's get close up on the sperm and be like, this is a human life. Look at its little tail.
Yeah.
And like, I think if we really push it and say, no more jerking off,
You
then
have
there
to
will be a
prove-
reversal. The Supreme Court will become a liberal court.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Clarence Thomas, I could totally see him being like, I gotta come.
I gotta
Your
come.
boy's gotta come.
Yeah.
Talk about
Every-
someone who I can't believe with the Pornhub laws that Clarence Thomas doesn't go, well, we can't go this far.
Yeah.
That was his whole fucking thing. He was
Yeah.
like, hey, you gotta watch this porn.
In those states adopting like anti-abortion things, the guys should have to go and like put their balls on some machine every day and like monitor monitor the cum.
The cum, how
and
much
make
are
sure
you
you
coming?
gotta be nothing's coming out of there.
This machine is crazy though. This
Yeah.
cum counting machine.
I just picture like 2 balls. You like You like put your balls onto it and it like scans. It's like a copier.
There's definitely like there's all the different versions of sci-fi where you could have like a scanning one. It's very nice, but then you could have like more of a horror sci-fi that's almost like a clamp, like like an iron lung type situation. It's like conk, and it like clamps on your balls, and it's like. And it's like really, it's very frightening for it to scan your shit. And so every day going in there, you're like, I gotta go into the
and
scan.
It's custom for each guy, so then they could show people what you're working with, and that would really scare guys.
And you know how you'd have to like do fake pee for a drug test? I'd be like, hey, can I get your balls?
I need your balls. I need your balls. No, your balls. Mine won't fit in there. I need your balls. I need your balls.
I got a book. I haven't started yet. It's called The History of Masturbation.
Yeah,
there's a chapter on you in it.
Oh, good.
And I'm curious. I'm gonna
the history.
It's
called.
I think it's going to talk about like how anthropologically like it was viewed, and I always think when I think about incel culture, like I just think so much about like don't jerk off is because they need guys to be like this to send them into a war zone and potentially die.
You think it's like a mind fuck thing?
Oh, I think like sexually depriving, especially men, is because if they're pent up, they will become more monstrous beings.
Yes.
I don't think anyone like right before battle is, maybe they're jerking off, but I think they probably get killed pretty quick.
Because they're like you need that edge. You need the jizz edge. That's what boxers used to do. Boxers used to not.
Opera singers do it.
Opera singers?
There was I mean, not all of them, but there was a famous Franco Corelli. Would you mind Googling? Forgive me. I hope this doesn't. Opera singer doesn't have sex before performance. I think it's Franco. He was a famous opera singer, but he was like, and these opera singers, they were fucking so much that they have to like be, this is a rule.
Yeah, I need to turn off the puss.
Believe you me, when I was in musical theater college, I wasn't like, sorry guys, I can't be having sex before South Pacific tomorrow.
A list of like 4 of them.
4 of them.
Luciano Pavarotti, Calixto Bieto.
I don't know if your mic's on. Is it on?
No.
Test.
There you go. Say it again. Who are they?
It's Luciano Pavarotti, Calixto Bieto. Then it just says opera singers in the 18th century. Let's see if we can find more specifics.
It sounds. I am very much I don't know.
Well, they've done tests on people for like.
Guy you wanted to look up?
Franco. See if it's Franco something. I think it's Franco Corelli.
The Franco Corelli?
Maybe.
Franco Corelli. That name sounds weirdly familiar.
Very masculine voice.
But they've done tests on dudes that I think it's after a week of no jizzing, you get a spike in testosterone. You do get a spike. But then after it goes back down to normal. And then you go back to normal. I think they said you go back to like regular levels. If anything, you might go down if you don't ever.
Can I say this? I've definitely done enough. Like wet dreams, I guess, was a big thing for people.
Yeah.
I've maybe had, 8 in my whole life.
Yeah, only a handful.
Yeah.
And not in a long time.
I think the more you start like letting the goo go, the less you're going to have a wet dream for sure. Because I've had, when was the last time I had a wet dream? But I feel like it was for some reason I wasn't jizzing, and so that was like it was like
it'll find a way to come out.
Yeah. Why do you get a boner in your sleep?
Yeah,
I always think it's so funny because it's like your body. Like imagine if you get woken up in the middle of the night, someone's a murderer or an animal's trying to eat you.
Yeah,
and like your body's like, don't worry, I'm ready to fuck it.
But it's usually in the early morning.
I think I heard it's because I don't know if this is true, but that your bladder fills up and your bladder then pushes on your prostate, which then gives you a boner.
Oh.
And I also heard it's because if you stop getting boners, like if you stop, the whole you don't use it, you lose it. That's actually true. It's like for dudes who are like way later in life, if there's no more blood flowing there, eventually your body kind of shuts off the stuff there, but it has to be pretty severe.
What age do I need to start worrying about this?
I don't know, but. That's part of it's your body regulating, like we still need to make sure blood goes here.
Yeah. So I have to run to the bathroom real quick.
To do what?
To get
to fill your bladder and then
to take care of my health.
Oh, okay. I have thought sometimes I'll be like, oh, maybe I'll, I don't know, but I always find a way.
What thoughts do you have?
No, you're like maybe I'll like just try not jizzing for one day.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And it's really hard.
I think I'm on a few days. No,
Okay, yeah.
no splooging.
I mean, every once in a while, like stuff happens, and you're like 2 or 3 days. But like in my mind, I'll be like, it feels like it's like starting a diet, and you're like, just not gonna happen yet. You know what I mean? Like you're like, I gotta do it.
I do intermittent coming, so I won't jerk off for 16 hours, then I will in that 8-hour window.
I was just visiting the fam. So that's always
that's true. There's like times where you're like,
it's like, remember that Biggest Loser show? They're like, if we take you to a farm where there's no gross food, then you can't get fat. So it's like, if you're in a situation where it's like, there's like, I'm hanging around my siblings and my nieces, it's like, there's no, like, I can't.
I bet you that's why visiting your family is always so tense. It's because none of
No
you are
one's
jerking
jerking
off for
off.
that
No one's
entire
jerking
time
off
period.
the whole
no
time,
one's
yeah.
jizzing, dude. Yeah. It's like,
that's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're Canadian.
I'm Canadian. Yeah. I grew up like an hour outside of Vancouver.
Do you ever? I don't know where America's going to go, but I certainly feel like I do have a fear of a more conservative bent.
Yeah.
I mean that thing with the Pornhub, I understand like it's like comical.
Yeah.
And that I can still get
No,
porn
it's
elsewhere.
terrifying.
Yeah.
But there is moments where you're like, put in my license.
But also, isn't this like against free speech? Isn't there like some sort of free speech boundary that's happening here with the porn?
Yeah, it's free speech until it's not. I mean, there's no the concept of free speech that was taught to us like as a kid honestly feels childish in retrospect. The way they taught me, it was just like you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater, but other than that, everything's free. And it's like, well, no, you can't publicly say you want to kill a political figure unless it's satirical. And then there's like I hate Elon Musk for many reasons, but like the kind of blindness where people go, he's protecting free speech, and I'm like, except for a billion
people
cases
that he blocks,
and like there's
suspends and like
when people like make fun of him directly,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like not allowed.
no one. Oh, can I just say, I don't want to. One of the things that I think is so revolting is Elon Musk. Obviously, he has a daughter. Who's trans, and he's like disowned her and said, that,
really?
she's
I didn't know
dead.
anything
And
about this.
She says, the woke mind virus killed my son, and there were pictures of him, drinking, celebrating with Caitlyn Jenner. And you just go, man, you fucking suck, bro. You fucking, you like, there's just something, there's just,
The
it
hypocrisy
could not be
there. It's like you couldn't.
And I understand they're all hypocritical, but
but it's different with your family.
I just pray we live in a day where the general population goes, maybe the richest person isn't the guiding light that we think just for people to resent someone with that much money as opposed to like as a sign of genius.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hope that's the cultural shift I get to witness in my lifetime.
What a piece of shit.
What a piece of shit.
That is pretty wild. That is pretty fucking wild.
But yeah, the concept of free speech, the way that I remember do you remember the day, not the day, but I remember when I thought judges were like, oh, judges are impartial. That's like the concept. And then one day it's like, it's not even, well, there's Republican appointed judges, Democrat appointed judges. Yeah. And then you go like, oh, now there's Bush appointed judges to Trump, Obama. Yeah. And you just go,
it's impossible. It's a human being. How can you be impartial?
Yeah. And that's not even like the point. It's just a matter like one level of separation from another person.
Yeah.
But the way it was taught was just, I don't know if you need to teach kids the fake version.
Yeah.
Because it almost feels like propaganda. Because the concept is supposed to be, well, they're impartial, so you have to completely listen to this person because it's the law.
Yeah.
So
but in terms of the Canada stuff, if everything was to go tits up, I don't know if I would go to Canada. What I was really concerned about was when we had the lockdowns, there was protests for the lockdowns, and regardless of where you sway on your opinion of the protests were correct or incorrect, they froze people's bank accounts who were protesting.
Right.
That's very frightening. That is like, I don't care what if you're like, yeah, those truckers are right or they're wrong. You can't freeze their bank accounts because they're protesting.
Yeah.
So
and Trudeau did that.
Trudeau did that. There's a lot of curfew stuff. There's a lot of stuff
We had some curfew stuff too.
That was like very like you can't do anything. So my plan, if everything goes tits up, I've been saying Japan for a long time. Japan's a good one. Mexico's a good one. Traditionally, if people want to escape like war or like the crumbling society, you go to South America. South America is usually a safe bet. That's like where if it was good enough for the Nazis, it's good enough for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess I don't have a plan. I haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
Have you?
Tova, my girlfriend, her mother is a British citizen, and she, I think I can say she's going to just so she has it, get her British citizenship, and she's made very clear though, she's like, you understand. If you were to come with me, you'd have to get over that little marriage thing that you keep talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like...
So, is it that you don't want to have a wedding or you don't want to get married?
Brother, I had this conversation for 3 hours last night. Do we need to have it again right now? No. I'm not... First of all, like, I have definitely evolved... to the point of like it's not an impossibility.
Yeah. How long have you been together for? You said 9 years?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years. But starting in COVID and like just 4 very involved years. No year of like casual seeing each other once a week. Like right out the gate practically. I think for me it's a mix of things. It's a mix of like fear of divorce.
Yeah.
It's a mix of it doesn't even mean anything to me.
Yeah.
In a way where it feels like I am doing a ritual that I don't believe in conceptually.
Yes.
And like I'm doing it, of course, one could say for her, for the tax things that come along with it.
Yes.
But there's something about it to me that I think I don't believe in a lot of elements of how society is set up socially.
Yeah.
And I don't like this thing that if it then breaks, you then get divorced and then you're divorced. And then there's core. I hate it. And I saw the negative consequences. I saw like my mom and stepdad, when they got divorced, you have to live under separate roofs for a year.
Yeah.
And there's money things. And so I have no respect for the institution
and the business that kind of comes along with it. That is like very much built there to like divorce lawyers, the breaking of everything. There's a lot of people who are making money off of you getting divorced.
Yeah.
That is a really trashy aspect of it. And I also don't like what you're saying, you're divorced now. Like, I don't like the idea that if you're with someone, you've been with your girlfriend for 4 years, say you guys do 10 or 20 years, and then you break up. And then people are like, it's a failed relationship or a failed marriage. It's like, how can you spend many years with a person and enjoy the time you spent with them, and then it fizzles or whatever? It's like, if I have I just saw my friends when I was going back home. We spent like one night where we kind of got fucked up. We actually did one of the we drank, we partied, we went out, then we all went back to my buddy's place. We were like drinking. We were like, what do we got booze wise? We had wine, and we started watching The Substance. We're drinking wine, drunk, watching The Substance, and my buddy had a DMT pen, and we were like taking little hits.
Oh my God, a DMT pen.
Off this DMT pen. Not to the point where you would fully trip out, but I would see like some fractals, and then we're watching The Substance, which is a very stimulating, like visually intense horror movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if there's ever been a better way to watch this movie, especially because we got there, we're like, what should we watch? And I didn't know anything about the movie. I was like, I heard The Substance is good, and it's me and 2 of my boys, and so I was like I don't know if this is gonna, I don't know what we're watching, and then there's tits in it, and we're all like, what? Like, it's like, and I was like, sick, pick the right movie. Like, as soon as there's boobs on screen, all the boys are invested. This was solid. No one's talking over the movie.
Yeah.
And so it was incredible. But to my point, I go see these dudes, and I see these dudes probably 2 times a year, 3 times a year whenever I go back home.
Yeah.
I don't go, this is a failed friendship because I don't interact with these guys all the time. I don't talk to these, we're not always in contact. No, these guys are fucking some of my best boys of all time.
Yeah.
And so the concept of dating someone and being with someone for a period of time, and then then leaving and being like, it's a failure.
Yeah.
Well, I'll add on to that. And, my girlfriend and I have discussions about this too, where I think because my dad had women who came into his life and then vanished from my life.
Yeah.
That I'm very much like, you should be able to at least speak with your ex. But I go, the systems in place, whether it be the lawyers, the divorce proceedings, they only encourage the animosity.
Yes.
And maybe there would be a more amicable breakup where you don't end these full monsters to each other. But because the system is so concrete, and like, I think my stepdad really did not want a divorce.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real shame that can't be diagnosed fully. And so I think that contributes to him, not wanting to speak to my mom.
Yeah.
In a way that's only done that only is harmful.
Yeah.
And so I just don't respect it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. That's so a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
But
I do think about Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. They've been together for like 40 years.
Not married.
And not married.
Yeah.
Never been married. And they just
I'm gonna send that. I'll say that to him.
Yeah.
Just start. How I feel like
Kurt Russell,
you know how people would send me articles. My sister used to send me articles on like performers who made it later in life.
We talked about this, and I'm like, they're always younger than like
They're
where
younger,
I'm at.
but I'll send it to them like, hey, Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have real Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn energy as a couple.
Okay, let's look at this. So I want to talk before we move on to this. Got to stop. You were, because this is so foreign to what Russell and I do. You were a scuba diving instructor.
Yes, I was.
Where?
Yeah. In Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Oh. Yeah. So I lived there for 3 years or so. For 2 of them, I was a scuba diving instructor. I honestly, the whole like course to that was pure fluke, and it was a quest for me to get out of my house. It kind of trails back to my home being a very unstable, toxic, kind of stressful environment, anxiety-filled place where I was like, I got to get a breather from here. So my parents...
That's funny. You needed such a breather. You went under the
underwater.
sea. Yeah.
When I graduated high school, I had like zero drive for anything. I'd never been interested in anything.
Sure.
And I remember my parents sitting me down being like, it's like, you don't care about anything. And I was like, yeah. Yeah. Like I don't, and I legitimately didn't. Part of it was the things I did care about were ridicule. I remember my whole life have been obsessed with video games. I love video games. And I would watch this video game show called X-Play. Some people will remember this. And I remember sitting on the couch watching X-Play. My mom's asleep. She's asleep on the couch, and I'm just like chilling. She wakes up and just starts screaming, and she's like, "Why the fuck is this on?" I was like, "You were sleeping. Like you weren't."
Yeah.
Like this is, but just the hatred towards it was like fucking very intense. So like the things I did have passion for were shit on, and then it's like you don't care about anything. It's like, yeah, well, I'm getting no encouragement to follow the things that I actually like doing. So my parents were like, you got to go straight to university, because they knew that if they let me just kind of hang out, that I would have just hung out, which was very true.
Sure.
And so I had shit grades, and I started looking around for courses, and I found a scuba diving instructor course through university, or it was a college. It was this college on the coast of British Columbia. Applied for that course, got in. It was only 2 semesters, way cheaper than any other college thing. You had to buy the scuba gear, which probably was the biggest investment, which my parents covered because they're like, we'll pay for your school. And then I went and did that for the 2 semesters, got back, and I was living on the coast of BC, so I got a taste of like not living at home. And I was like, as soon as I got back, I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And
Was it scary at all, or were you like, you knew in your heart you could scuba dive? Because that's scary to me.
No, I was always a water kid. My mom was very afraid of swimming and very afraid of water, so she had all of us in swimming lessons from like when they're like dropping babies in water and stuff. I was doing that shit. Yeah. So like I've been very comfortable in the water my entire life. So the scuba diving stuff, I was like, I'll figure this out. Like, it's like the water, the fear of going underwater was never a thing for me. I was like going to the rec center a ton as a kid. I would walk up to the rec center and just go swim for like hours for something to do.
Yeah.
So the scuba diving stuff wasn't frightful, but when I came back home, I was like, I gotta get out of here. They helped you build a big resume through the college. Then I applied to a bunch of different jobs, found a job in Mexico. It was the best paying job I got offered, and it was the cheapest flight. And so I was like, sick, lock it in. Flew out there. I had accommodations for the first like month or two from the place I was working at. I worked there at a hotel for like 4 or 5 months. Then they had a big turnover. They would fire people constantly. And so then I got let go, but they did my visa so I could work in Mexico. So I was like sick, started working freelance for another scuba dive place. And did that for like a couple years, made a bunch of friends.
And you're teaching like some newbies to go under.
Yeah, brand new people.
I mean, did anyone
people
anyone freak out? Like I'm trying to think, would you ever scuba dive? Could you ever see a world where you might learn?
I think in the right circumstances, I think I would be freaked out if it's really deep. Like I would do like the baby kind of scuba diving,
sure,
in like a shallow water kind of thing.
Yeah,
like I did on my honeymoon. I did snorkeling, and that was like in the middle of the ocean, like a reef thing, and it was like I was always the first one back on the boat for each thing. You know what I mean? Like it would be like I would do it for like a few minutes, be like, "That's fine, I'm good." And then when we were with the stingrays, I'm like, "That's fine, that's good." And then when we were with the sharks, I'm like, "That's fine, I'm good." Like I was always the first one back on the boat. It just didn't. It is scary to me, you know. And I'm scared. Anytime I think of scuba diving, I think of that movie, Open Water.
Oh, where they just get left.
Yeah. I always think of that.
Were you ever on a scuba trip where someone didn't come back?
No.
But did you know anyone who it happened to?
There was some stories. A couple people went missing. All videographers. I think my entire time in Mexico, 3 videographers went missing, which is very unfortunate and very sad. But it wasn't really due to the lack of safety within like the group. There was always like a thing where there would be a videographer who's a scuba diver, and he would try to like sell you like, here's a video of you guys scuba diving. There's always an upsell or something. You're at a hotel, right, or wherever you are. So a couple, I think 3 went missing. None from dive shops I worked at, but just in that area, there's probably, I think there was like 15 dive resorts in Playa del Carmen on that section of the beach. Then there's a bunch in Tulum. There's a bunch in Cozumel, which is like the island across from. So it's a huge diving area. Cozumel is the 2nd largest reef in the world. Like it's a huge, beautiful, exotic. It's incredible diving. So out of all of those shops, and out of 3 years there, 3 people went missing that I heard. Oh, there was some people that died in the cenotes as well.
What's that?
The cenotes are those underground, like the cavern diving. So it's like the cave diving.
No. Never.
So there's 2 kinds. Now I'm on like 3 different things. Yeah. The videographers that went missing, it probably was because they swam off from the group to get some footage. And I know one was in Cozumel, and Cozumel is very known for these crazy down currents. So then if you get too far away from the reef, or you go on your little thing and then you get pulled super deep, super fast, you can run out of air. The deeper you are, the faster you run out of air. When you go very deep, your air starts making you high, because your air gets so compressed that
in a fun way, like this is a nice way to go.
Hey, probably, yeah. You're getting basically high off of nitrogen,
Thank God.
So that happened in the cenotes. The cenotes are like the underground cavern diving, and there's difference between cave and cavern. Cave is 0 visibility. That's where there's no light.
Okay.
That you have to be very, very advanced, specialized for. The cave course is like psychologically, I wouldn't say traumatizing, but enduring in order to become a certified cave diver. It's a difficult thing to become, and I knew many people who did it, and you have to be very good at it. The cavern diving, you have to be cave certified in order to take people through cavern dives, and these are all like lined. So you'll have like a line going through that you follow. What the difference between cavern and cave is, in a cavern, you maybe are going like under stalactites and stuff, but there's always natural light. You're not relying on lights that you bring in.
Yeah.
So someone went on the cavern course, and then I guess there was like a cool stalactite formation. They're like, hey, let's swim off the line. Look at this. And they got lost on the way back. And they found their bodies. They had to pull them out, and they did an autopsy. And all I remember hearing about the autopsy was that someone died of a heart attack. So like you're panicking, and so one of it was a couple, and then the instructor, they all died.
Oh my God.
But that's also every time there was an accident or a death or anything. Who is calling me? Okay, I'm just gonna have to. That can wait. Anytime there was an accident or a death or anything, it was all you did something you weren't supposed to do. Every time was you did something you weren't supposed to do.
What do you do if a shark attacks you?
I mean, shark attacks are extremely rare. Sharks have there's a lot of fear around sharks, mainly because of Jaws. They are, of course, predators. Yeah, but it's like I did probably over 20, maybe 30 shark dives, no cage. These aren't cage dives. We would go, we would
I swim with sharks, but they were like 6 feet lemon sharks. So they don't bite you, but they're the same height as you. And you're like, yeah, it's like,
are they standing?
I feel like you never hear about scuba divers getting attacked by sharks. You always hear like surfers and swimmers.
Yeah, it's this thing. They see you at the surface. You get mistaken for a seal. Yeah. They pop up. They bite you. It's also the type of shark. I mean, we would go with bull sharks. Bull sharks are very known for being. I think they have the most bites, but it's because they're adapted to go into freshwater and saltwater. So they'll swim up like freshwater rivers, and people are walking in them, and they see legs, and they bite your leg.
I like this idea they mistake you for a seal and they're like, my bad, I thought you were a seal. Yeah. Not that they're just going,
because I think oftentimes if people get bitten by a shark, I don't know, I'm sure there's some shark specialists who can correct me on this, but we don't have like the right like fats and stuff in our body that they're attracted to eat.
Yeah.
But you would do the shark dives. You would go to, it was pretty deep. You would go like 110 feet underwater, and then you just kneel in the sand. There's literally like no reef or anything around you. Mm-hmm. You would go there for the sharks, and then you would take like a water bottle or like a piece of metal and bang it on your tank, or you would crinkle the water bottle because the vibrations, they hear that or they feel it or whatever, and they think it's like an injured animal, and so then they start coming towards you.
Oh my god!
And normally you would get maybe 4 to 6 sharks that would just kind of circle you. It was only one time because some dive clubs, or what are they called? I can't even remember what they're called. Dive resorts, dive clubs, whatever. They would feed them.
Yeah,
we wouldn't feed.
Sure.
But one time we went down, and there was, because when they're feeding, they have this like big tube that literally you like put your hand into like almost like a sealed thing and pull it out. So there's not just like fish and guts flying everywhere. Yeah. It's like once you pull out one comes out.
Yeah.
And so
like pulling out little towelettes.
Exactly. And so we go down, and I see another group with the thing. And so I tell my guys, I go like, let's go fucking next to these guys. I don't know who they are, but let's see what they're up to. And so we kneel next to them, and probably at least 20. I remember counting, I think I counted 18, but they're swimming all around you. So I'm trying to count how many are there.
It was so scary. I mean, when I did it, I was like, this is the guy was chumming the waters.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you just see like 30, 40 sharks all coming towards the thing. And then you're like, get in. And you're like, and it's like, you can recognize that it's beautiful, but it, like the feeling of swimming and seeing one coming towards you and then like underneath you. That was the thing too, is like all of a sudden you notice one and it'd be like 10 feet underneath you, but you're like, that's the same size as me. Like it's like so crazy.
So if a shark somehow happened to bite you or was like coming at you, you poke him in the eye, you punch him in the nose? What's the move?
You just if it's coming towards you, you just kind of stay still. They kind of come towards you and then they'll swim around you. I've never seen anyone get bit. I did get, the only time that I was very frightened by a shark was one time we were doing a shallow water dive, but it was during shark season, so maybe like 40, 50 feet deep. And there was like a really nice reef there, but it was also a choppy day. So it's like the water's moving a lot, so that stirs up a lot of sand, really lowers the visibility underneath the water.
Yeah.
And so I told the guy, I was like, hey, so he was like, oh, maybe I want to see a shark. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to, at one point in the dive, I'm going to signal to you, we're going to swim off the reef, we're gonna kneel in the sand, and then I'm gonna like bang on my tank, and maybe we'll see a shark. I'm like, it's pretty choppy out there today, so our chances of seeing a shark is pretty low. So, and I think I was hungover that day too. So we go out, we go down, we do our dive. About halfway through, I'm like, okay, go off the reef. We're kneeling, I'm banging on my tank, and I'm just hungover, and I'm just looking at the sand. I'm not even like paying attention to what's going on around me, and I'm just looking down. I'm just like ting 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 ting, banging on my my tank, and I look up, and there's a shark probably from me to you.
Oh,
And I just remember looking up and be like, oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
yeah.
And I just like jolt, like I just like, whoo, and then he just swam around us and then went away. And then I remember looking at the guy and him being ecstatic, like, we saw a shark.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Oh my
holy
God.
fuck, dude. Yeah, okay. I'm glad you're having a good time.
let's go on to our next segment. This has got to stop.
Yes.
This has gotta stop.
This has got to stop. We'll keep it tight because Lisa's coming for at 5. My this has got to stop.
Yes.
If I'm at an Airbnb,
Yeah.
you need your own Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi for the coffee store downstairs is not good enough.
Yeah.
God, no.
Yes.
It is not good enough. And if it's functional, but I can't download a video,
No.
or I can't watch a Netflix thing, that's not Wi-Fi. That doesn't count.
No.
I don't even care if they say it's okay that you use it. It's never good enough. And I've been at several Airbnbs where that's what they do for Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And it always sucks.
No, it's terrible.
And some of these Airbnbs, they are not fucking cheap.
No.
And I'm sorry. You want to make money off the Airbnb? This is an essential service.
I need full access.
Yeah.
I need to be able to do, it's internet. It's like water or heat or something.
Yeah.
Like I need it.
There's a comedy club in Arkansas where it was like one where it was like a cool place to stay, but it had no Wi-Fi. And he said, if you need Wi-Fi, call me. I'll come and pick you up. And I'm like, you want me to call you for when I have to jerk off before the show?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I always mean to have like, it's been so long since I've ever had like a downloaded porn video.
Mm.
But it's probably good just to have one. Just one.
Yeah.
For desperate.
That's so true. I didn't even think of that.
I definitely have
Like
some
the old
nudes
days.
saved in my phone.
You do?
Yeah, I got nudes saved in my phone for sure. Yeah.
Damn, just still?
Yeah, well, just still
Not even a
nudes.
GIF.
Not even a GIF. Not even
Damn.
a GIF.
It's been a long time since I've looked at a still image.
Yeah, no, I have a lady now, so I got her some of her nudes in lock. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
My this got stop. This happened twice now in this past weekend, where you go to a restaurant and they have a QR code and a menu that's separate things. So the drinks are on the QR code and the food is on the menu.
That's
and then
crazy.
they said,
crazy.
also we have specials on the board around the corner. I'm like, wait, we
Crazy.
have 3 different mediums to look at what you have to offer us?
Crazy.
It happened
Crazy.
twice this week, and I was like, no, you got to put everything in one spot. One
dude.
spot. We cannot have a QR code for drinks and a thing for menu, and then specials where I'm leaving my table to go look at a board. That's crazy.
Maybe 2 spots. Maybe you go, here's our menu, here's all stuff, and here's our like little secret, like, oh, here's our special little dessert and our special little drink that we're doing tonight or something.
Bare minimum, have the food and the drink on one
Yes.
thing. Food and the drink on one
Yes.
thing. It better be a hard copy. I'm sick of the QR code.
I hate the QR code. We all hate
Enough
the
of
QR
it.
code.
Oh no.
Yeah, no,
Because
we're over it.
sometimes you'll all of a sudden be like, oh, we don't have service. You don't have the service here to like do it, and it's
Yeah.
slowly
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or your phone-
loading. You're
sometimes
down in a basement.
Phone dead? What if your phone's dead?
Yeah.
I can't eat? What the
Yeah.
fuck's going on?
No.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I wonder if younger generations who didn't grow up, I wonder if people who grew up with screens will not have that thing that we
Yeah.
miss. Like I've never gotten with the books that you read, Jesus Christ, ebooks or anything like
Yeah,
that.
no.
I still like holding paper books.
Me too.
And
Yeah.
I wonder if generations who didn't grow up on books, will they miss it? Is the physical media just something is nostalgic for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah, I do like physical media.
Diva, this got to stop.
Yeah, the whole pizza's only good in New York, or New York doesn't have good tacos. I hate it's pizza and tacos. Guess what, dude? I've traveled all over this country to several other countries.
Yeah.
They got it everywhere. They got it everywhere. I will say the quantity of pizza you can get in good form is higher in New York, and the
higher
amount
in tacos in
LA.
LA.
In LA, you can get you can go to there's some dude selling amazing tacos outside a gas station on a plastic table. That is happening. But
You don't think there's anything like, if I were to say stand-up comedy is better in New York because there's more competition, which means it evolves to a higher quality of stand-up. Do you think that's not true for food?
No, I'm not saying that's not true. We're in a different spot where we are competing in that space, and we're trying to excel ourselves to a higher level. If you want to become the best like Mexican chef ever, maybe you go to LA, maybe you go to Mexico, maybe you go to where they're doing it the best, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm Joe Blow eating a slice of pizza, it's not like fucking, I can't even get a fucking slice in LA. It's like, no, there is a place. There is a place where you can go get a pizza and it will be very good.
Yeah.
Like there's a taco spot like 3 blocks from me. That's incredible. It's incredible.
Also, I feel like any of the dialogue or talk or conversation around it is never helpful or interesting. It's just that. It's like, well, it's just like the most boring conversation you can get in where people are being like, it's in New York. It is that thing where you're like, oh, or you go to LA and like, well, we got tacos everywhere. It is that thing where you're like, this is not interesting.
Yeah.
It is funny that I was just in North Carolina and they had a New York style pizza was the name of the store.
Yeah.
And I would love for someone to open up a store in New York called North Carolina Style Pizza. That sounds like a Nathan for you.
Dude, like if the argument was about convenience, I can get behind it. It's like you can't get a slice as easy. Something I really miss from Toronto. Toronto is like the way you can get pizza here, you can get like shawarma or Caribbean food. Like there's Caribbean places everywhere. You can get jerk chicken and rice and peas everywhere in Toronto, and it's fucking good.
Yeah.
And I miss that. You kind of got to go to a specific area to get that. The convenience argument is there. The just it doesn't exist. You're dumb. You're dumb.
Yeah.
You're dumb.
I feel that way about bagels.
Yeah.
I was in Montreal and there's like Montreal style bagels.
Yeah.
You'll go, there's not real bagels, but they're usually thinner, and I
Yeah.
go, it doesn't feel like as much of a like, Jesus Christ, I'm having a bagel today.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta go hit the gym.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is a reasonable meal.
Yes.
I love a Montreal bagel.
Yeah. It has a different purpose.
Yeah.
It has a different purpose.
Different purpose.
Yes.
100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go into our final segment.
Yes.
You better count your blessings.
You better count your blessing. So I guess I'll go first. My blessing, I started selling these shirts. Please no crowd work for people who want to come to shows and not have the comedian talk to them. So I had a show on Wednesday in somewhere in Kentucky, but I was told to say Cincinnati, Ohio, because it was close enough. But there were these 2 shirts that looked kind of like my shirts. I didn't say anything during the whole show because I recently thought someone was wearing one of my shirts, and I called it out, and they weren't, and it was humiliating.
Yes.
Like the equivalent of like someone saying, "Do you want?" When I said, "Do you want a picture with me?"
And they're like,
they
"No."
go, "That's okay," and you go, "Wow, wow." And it happened. It happened like at a show in front of an audience, and it was awful. And I didn't say anything, and then they came up and they had made kind of their own version that said, "Please crowd work me, Daddy." And they made one for me, and I was like, it was very funny to get a bootleg version of a shirt I've only sold like 10 copies of. Like, I'm like, wow, I thought bootlegs happened like after a little bit more commercial success.
Yeah.
But it was very cool, and it was very sweet. I mean, it really is, you know, there's a level of fandom that I'm sure feels scary.
Yeah.
But like this is like the perfect like,
It's nice.
oh, this is so cute.
Yeah.
You paid attention.
Yes.
And you gave me my own shirt, and I'm gonna wear it, and it feels nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I also realized at the podcast studio. By the way, I did some updates to the podcast studio walls. Russell hasn't made a single comment. It's been 3 recordings now that Russell hasn't said a single thing about those downside blocks, about new frame pictures. But on the fridge, I started putting the fan art stuff.
Can I tell you, I did notice those blocks. I really liked that. I did
nice.
notice that. I just
Who's
didn't
this
say
guy?
That's the Undertaker, who we need to remove after he endorsed Trump so
yeah.
hardcore.
Oh, yeah. We gotta
Jesus
get that
Christ.
out of there. Oh
God,
my
these
God.
fucking wrestlers. What's your blessing?
Well, I have a couple, but I last night we went to a show and it was very funny. When we were walking in, the ticket person was like, they go to me, "Hey, just want to say I love your content," and my wife Nicole immediately goes, "Oh, Gianmarco's here." Coming in too, and just the assumption of like the content must be the downside related thing.
Yeah,
which
like,
was,
oh, you feel like Russell. Oh my God.
Oh my
even
God.
better
Even
news.
better news for you.
Gianmarco's
here actually, and it was very funny. She didn't mean it like that, but she did mean it like that. And it was funny because then he didn't say anything to you, and I was like, what content could he be speaking of?
Yeah.
Other than, I guess he could have been a Titanic fan or
Your mansplaining man spreader sketch
you know
from
what I
Uncle
mean? Like,
Function.
it would all be like related to the podcast or or he's a theater fan, but you wouldn't call theater fan content. You know what I mean? Like a theater, like a
or he loves the podcast, but like hates when I talk.
But it was so nice to go to like I think there is a nice thing of like sometimes I've gone to like off Broadway or theater spaces in New York, and there's like a nice recognition for things then that's been a nice little thing to have where you go and you're like, oh, that people,
when he's at a Broadway show, people
saw him
in
and they're
Titanic.
Like, oh yeah, so it's a nice like it's a little ego boost when you desperately need one. And
it's like Alex Brightman. He said I'm famous from 42nd Street to 49th Street between these two avenues.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say famous. It's like I saw that show and they don't know my name, but but no, that was nice. And then the other thing the real thing I was going to say. Sorry, I know time. But I've been stepping in dog poop because of the fall. There's leaves everywhere on my sidewalk.
Damn.
And then someone, I don't know who they were, but thank you. They did that. They swept all the leaves.
Oh, right.
So now like none of that poop is getting hidden in the leaves, and it's been poop free for like 2 days, and that's been amazing.
That's great.
Thank that person.
Do you have a blessing?
Yes. I really love that in my career I've been very like kind of private, and I think this is something people need to do more of. Like the thing I put on full display is my sense of humor, the things I find funny.
Yeah.
But like I guess the blessing is like just like stopping the buck at a certain point so you have some privacy in your life, which I really like. I think we need to go back to it's nobody's business.
Cover your ears. Sure.
No, I agree. There's like certain things I definitely am like I can't get into certain things.
I feel like
what?
Saved by the Bell.
We
Forgive me. We're
got another one.
Our time.
Yeah.
Can you tell people where people can find you?
Yes. Check out the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Dark Holes with Che Durena on all streaming platforms.
We'll put links for everything.
Thank you. You can also, for all tour and ticket dates, you can find me at chedurena.com. We got some Kentucky stuff, some Oklahoma stuff, some Toronto stuff coming up very soon. And all social media platforms, Che Durena on all platforms, CHEDURENA.
Okay, me, Lisa Triggers here. We're doing a Patreon. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. You get episodes released sooner to recording. If you're a fan, you'll probably see the one we're about to record right now already. Hi, Lisa, come in. We're just wrapping up an episode. So excited to have you. I wish it was live. And then Russell, where can people find you?
At Russell J. Daniels at Instagram.
Yes, great.
Yeah.
Join the Patreon. Thank you, Che.
Thank you for having me.
It was an
Thank
honor.
you so
This
much.
is The Downside. Peace, guys.
Bye.
You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.